Okay, here's another 12.5 test. I'm just making a short run. It's a little bit different than normal. Just trying to see if it does anything new or different. It's been working pretty smoothly. So let me know what you guys think. I'll point out any issues along the way. I actually have a nighttime video that I just took, but I took the car out yesterday. I don't know if anybody else has tested out the adaptive headlights in the US. I suppose they're supposed to turn with the turns, but I did not notice anything. So if I'm doing that wrong, I definitely have the setting clicked on, and so adaptive headlights is on. Headlights adjust for curves, but I didn't notice it. Maybe it's subtle. I'm not entirely sure. So let me know if you guys know anything about it. But here we go. Let's see how it works. So this is how I generally use it. I normally get to the street from a parking lot and then click it on. So this street is generally not crazy busy, but busy, and people go relatively quick here. So it's generally a good test of how quickly it'll find an opening and get over. So it did that well. I'll complain about taking the 2 lanes to make the turn again though, but I'm not really sure if that'll ever be an actual issue for getting to FSD, getting it to a level 5 autonomy, but well, I think it will be. But a lot of my comments on the other videos, people have they seem pretty sure of themselves that it crossing or taking 2 lanes to turn will never won't be an issue, and that it isn't a problem even if it does it for no reason, like there's no obstruction, there's nothing in the way or anything like that. So continue commenting on that. I looked it up the other day, and in Oklahoma where I am, it is technically a ticketable offense. They have a pretty strict, well, at least a pretty clear written out guideline on how you're supposed to make those turns. So yeah, this is a highway drive, so this doesn't really have much to do with 12.5, I don't think. So this is a weird, well, I mean, it's not a weird area and there's nobody here, so it probably won't cause an issue, but the lane we're in technically ends. You saw the sign. So this is another situation where it does this often, and the lane is ending, and it follows the line and just drives straight. It doesn't put on a turn signal or anything. And I find it even does it on some, I'm sure it won't do it on this, but on some highway merge lanes. So this slowing down, I'm giving it gas right now, because that's absolutely silly to slow down to 50 and hit the brakes while trying to merge on the highway. So I definitely gave it some acceleration there. There's cars around, and I'm, slamming on my brakes trying to get on the highway. So not smooth. Like I said, this isn't 12.5 technically, because the highway stacks are different. So the indecisiveness there on the lane change on the left lane exit, there's quite a wobble there. Really nothing about that exit was comfortable, and this is why I recommend FSD all the time. with a caveat, right? To say, hey, it's great, but it's not perfect, right? And that's kind of what these videos are showing, that I'm trying to show, is that, you know, it is great. And it's not inherently unsafe, and sometimes you have to press on the gas a little bit, but it certainly makes less overall mistakes probably than a regular driver throughout any given trip. But that's not to say that currently it's still not making mistakes, and you still have to be supervised and be prepared to take over and pay attention to what's going on. Because you know, there's a lot of weird roads. There's other people on the roads, right? So it's trying to figure it out, and it's just not 100%. And I think one thing that people get confused about, and I don't really know. Well, I do know why, because it's called full self-driving. But they call it full self-driving supervised. And the fact is that nobody's making the claim right now that you don't need to be in the driver's seat paying attention. There's a lot of sensors and whatnot, you know, monitoring and making sure that you're paying attention to the road. So I feel some people might have an incident like that on the highway where it slows down or does something weird, and they don't want to press on the gas. So this guy's letting me in, so same deal. It wasn't going because there was a car there. So I feel like there's, you know, people think that if it's either 100% perfect, never makes a mistake, never does anything wrong, or it's not worth using. And I would disagree entirely on that. So this is my first stop, and I'll click it back on after. So here's an interesting scenario. I'm going to let it do its thing and just see. I'll correct it really quick. We're supposed to turn left. The lane's obviously closed. So I'll press continue and see what it sees. I mean, you can see we're supposed to turn left. The lane is closed. I'm going to give it a little bit of acceleration so that it thinks about it. And then I'm going to say no. Because that would be going, and this is 12.5, that would be going down the wrong lane of traffic. So this is another, I mean, this is just a real world scenario where you have to be, you know, attentive, because that would not work. So, you know, that's 12.5. And, you know, I think people are asking, and these are kind of the real questions, I think, you know, on perfect roads and good conditions when everything's smooth, we expect it to work perfectly, and it's pretty good, right? But on awkward scenarios, road closures, weird markings, you know, standard human driving, you know, one thing that comes up that is guaranteed to be annoying is on the highway, it really is very slow to stage the car into the exit lane. And so what'll happen is, I mean, and everybody knows this while driving, it's unfortunate, but it's irritating, is when you go and click your blinker on to get over, you know, 8 out of 10 times, the car that's in the next lane, instead of slowing down to let you in, or even staying at the same speed, half the time they'll speed up to not let you in. Well, the car just basically stops. Doesn't stop on the highway, but you'll miss the exit, especially if you're not staged. So if you only have 0.1 of a mile and the exit is right there, and the car doesn't let you in, well, then you're not getting in. And the car will continue driving safely, which is fine, but you will miss your exit, and it'll, you know, reroute you and try again. If it's staged earlier, I can't help but think that a lot of those problems would be avoided, just like in regular driving. So, yeah, so my point remains as far as 12.5 goes, is we're just getting closer and closer and closer. But those fringe cases, like the one that I just showed you, exiting a parking lot, clicking it on, I mean, those are all within the variables that are allowed to be used on FSD, right? I was able to turn it on, give it to gas, and let it make its decision. And in that particular scenario, that's the wrong decision and a dangerous decision. So that's one of those ones where, and so I'm about to hit the gas. We're merging on the highway in the 50s, and there's somebody behind. So this is what I was just explaining, that we're already in the other lane before a turning signal was ever used, right? So I'm not saying that people don't do that, but not what I want to see when somebody's driving me around. So we do have an exit coming up, and the car in front of us is not going super fast. So obviously, although my max is, it says 69, it's not going to go faster than the car in front, and it's not going to get over to the left to pass anybody when the exit's right here. So that's, good behavior. So this exit was different, and I will say on 12.4.3, so we're in auto max, and now we're in 12.5. 12.4.3, I'm turning left up here. This is a big turn lane. In 12.4.3, it would stage me in this lane almost immediately off of the highway. There's a car behind me right now that's in the lane that I'm supposed to go in. So we technically just cut that car off to get into this lane. And when they were in this lane, because they exited the highway just like me, when they were in this lane, that means that they knew they were turning left up at this next intersection. And as the highway ended, they immediately got into their left lane. The car stayed in the right lane. So they assumed that I didn't need to turn into the left lane. So they were continuing to drive normally, which inherently led to the Tesla essentially cutting off that car, which is, those are the situations where I'm saying that I think that the next iteration of this is staging. I think the rest of the full self-driving is, they're almost there. Fringe cases are fringe cases. That road closure that just happened, fringe case, obviously needs to be addressed, but you can understand it not having the data to deal with that right now. But cases of staging and getting into the lane where you're turning is something that I think should be worked out sooner than later. I mean, they're not fringe cases. They're every standard day driving, and it's something, the reason why I mention it so much is because, like I said, I use this 95% of the time driving around, and it's a part that annoys me. It's the one that causes the most issues, and it causes me clicking out of FSD the most out of every other situation. I have to click out to make sure that I make the next turn, and to make sure that we're not cutting people off or trying to merge in at the last possible second. So when I say staging and I mention it, and the fact that that's the main thing I'm looking at every single time that I'm doing these tests, is because it really is the probably number one thing that makes it feel awkward. So let me know what you guys think. And if you guys have any different experience, I'm well aware that, it's all going to be based on the roads and the city that you happen to live on and where you're driving. So some of the stuff, I know they have direct training, where the Tesla will actually even go out and test. And I'm assuming that was California. Maybe with this move now, it'll be Texas, which is now closer to Oklahoma, which is interesting. But as of right now, this is just a very candid drive in Oklahoma. So, and this is proper staging. So it just did this in 12.3.6. It would stay in the left lane. Our eventual turn is turning right. So previously it would stay in the left lane, wait till the end, and try to get over. This, it's obviously staging itself early. I mean, if you guys saw some other indication of why it would have moved into the right lane other than staging for the next turn, let me know, because I could absolutely be missing something. But I know in 12.3 it would stay in that left lane because that's the lane it was already in while it was driving, and it would make that turn and try to get over way later down. So let me know what you guys think, because I'm curious on your guys' experiences on this as well. And also let me know if there's anything that you want me to kind of experiment with or test out. If you guys have a specific instance that was giving you trouble in 12.3 and you want to see if it's semi-fixed or if I can emulate it in any way, I'll definitely try. And if it's available, if I can see an area on the map that I can test that out on, I have no problem doing it. So yeah, subscribe and then let me know what you want me to try. So this is auto offset. We're going 40. We were going 47 in a 35, and that's super completely appropriate on this road. You can see the people in front are going that speed. So, I think that's an instance where the auto offset is working properly. And I will say that I've been driving around with it a little bit more the last few days. And I'll say that I've left it on, so it hasn't annoyed me as much as the previous versions did. So it is improving, most likely. Or I'm getting more accepting of driving slower. Could be either or, but I think it's improving. So that was a good example of a car coming up and still approaching quickly. There's really no indication that it was going to technically stop. And I think on 12.3, even 12.3.6, it would kind of stutter and slow down and try to double check that guy was going to stop. Which, I don't think people complain so much because it seemed safe. But I like now that it doesn't do that. I think it's only going to react if it actually sees an issue, not, potentially that an issue might be there. So